Hello everybody, Jim here. Welcome back to another video. How you all doing? Hope you're doing as well today as I am, because I got a brand new game to talk about. This was just released yesterday, and I was up most of the night playing it. It is Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, which I was quite looking forward to playing because I was very much a fan of the PS2 era Prince of Persia games, and I even liked the 360 game as well. That one's kind of like, you know, long forgotten, kind of overshadowed by the Sands of Time trilogy. But I was looking forward to playing a new Prince of Persia game, so I picked this up on release day. I played it probably for about 5 hours, so I'm not finished with it yet. So this isn't like a comprehensive review. I just wanted to give some of my initial thoughts on this game, because there are some big positives and some big negatives so far as well. So right off the bat, when I booted this game up, I was greeted with some text that told me I wouldn't really be able to enjoy the full richness of the game unless I had an Ubisoft account. Which I didn't want an Ubisoft account. I don't give a shit about you know, getting the latest updates from Ubisoft. I just wanted to play my game. But I was not going to be allowed to proceed and play this game until I created an Ubisoft account, and then promptly got like a bunch of emails from Ubisoft. So that right away did not make me happy. I didn't really want to sign up for an Ubisoft account. I don't particularly care, but I had to if I wanted to play my game. So I created an Ubisoft account, deleted a bunch of emails, and then got on to my game. Now, the game itself, pretty cool. The story is interesting in that it features a lot of actual, like, historic I don't want to say like characters, because I'm sure like it's hard to know like what's real and what's not, because you're talking about like ancient Persia and like Persian mythology, which is like thousands and thousands of years ago. But for example, your character you're playing as is Sargon, which I believe is the historical figure of Sargon of Akkad, who was an actual person. But you're one of these elite warriors that are called the Immortals, and you're actually trying to save the Prince of Persia. You yourself are not playing the Prince of Persia, so you have to go to the mythical Mount Kaf, which is like the center of like all of the knowledge and everything for all of ancient Persia. There's a citadel at Mount Kaf, but it's been like plagued by some kind of like evil curse or evil magic or something for like 30 years, and time works differently within the citadel, and there are like monsters and creatures and all kinds of other things. So that's where the game takes place, and you probably already know this, but this is now a Metroid style game, Metroidvania if you will. I think previous Prince of Persia games, the Sands of Time, but definitely the Prince of Persia on the 360 that I played, they were all 3D games, but the areas were interconnected, so it was sort of like Metroidvania-ish in that way, where you still went from one area to another, and then you would backtrack sometimes to use like various like power-ups and abilities you earned later in the game. So if you're a fan of Metroidvania-style games, then you're gonna like this, because that's what it is. But the thing is, it doesn't really deviate from the formula very much. It's the same kind of game that you've been playing for like the past 30 years. So you know what it is. There's lots of different areas around the Citadel. Some of them you can access immediately. Some of them you cannot access until you have a certain ability or power-up, or there's some kind of story progression that gives you access to that area. And there's a lot of backtracking and moving around and going through big maze-like areas in the Citadel. So if you like that gameplay style, which I do, then you'll be right at home here. But if you're bored of Metroidvania style games, you might not want to play Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. But I will say the positives and the negatives to the gameplay thus far. Again, keeping in mind I'm 5 hours in, I haven't experienced everything yet. But really the gameplay is broken down into two things. There's your combat, and then there's your platforming. And the first hour or so of this game I was very underwhelmed. It wasn't, you know, it's that early part of a Metroidvania style game where you don't have all the cool abilities yet, and so you're kind of like, you know, filling the game out. And it throws some combat at you because it's sort of a tutorial. You're learning how to do all the moves and things like that. It's kind of boring, kind of tedious. The combat in the game is okay. You have a lot of abilities at your disposal. You have standard combos. You can do launch attacks, air attacks, sweeps. You have super moves you can pull off when your super move meter is full. Your Arta, I think is what it's called, like your spirit energy. So that's fine. And after you defeat enemies, you collect crystals and other various things that can be used later in the game. And that was what kind of bugged me a little bit, because in a Prince of Persia game, the thing that I want to do the most of is the platforming, which there's good platforming in here, but I'll get to that in a bit. But really, when I'm playing Prince of Persia, I want to just do lots of fun platforming. I want to go into a room, and there's all kinds of like traps and obstacles and things like that, and it's like one big puzzle that tests like how can you figure out this obstacle course and the timing and all that. I like that in my Prince of Persia games. And the combat has always been like secondary to me. It's not very important. I'd be perfectly happy with a Prince of Persia game that didn't have any combat, or at the very least had minimal combat. But there's a lot of it in this game. Every area, there's usually like quite a few enemies to contend with. And eventually I was getting kind of bored with it, especially when they're like flying enemies and things like that. They're kind of hard to reach, and they're shooting projectiles at you and things. And I'm trying to do my platforming, but I also have to fight these enemies. And eventually I was getting just kind of bored of the combat, and so I would go into an area, and if there would be a bunch of enemies in it, I would just avoid them as best I could. I was losing interest in the combat pretty quickly. But it's not really an option to not kill enemies, because there are other power-ups and things in the game that you need, and the only way to get them is to purchase them with crystals. And you can find crystals around the Citadel, but you also get a lot of them just by defeating enemies. So even if you don't really like the combat, you'd much rather just bypass the enemies and get to the good stuff, which is the platforming. You kind of have to fight the enemies, and that's kind of annoying. So the combat for me is kind of meh. It's hit or miss. The boss battles are pretty cool. And I'm happy to say that they're actually kind of difficult. You do have to learn the attack patterns of the boss and look out for attacks that you can either dodge or parry and counterattack and things like that. So the boss battles are at least pretty fun and pretty challenging. You fight like the Manticore I've fought so far, which was pretty cool. And you also fight doppelgangers of Sargon, and that's pretty cool too. It's just the general combat, all the various enemies around the game. It's okay sometimes, but when you don't really want to do it, you kind of have to do it anyway, so that sucks. But the platforming, though, happy to say the platforming is still very good. Again, Prince of Persia games, that's what they're really known for, is the fun, like, puzzle platforming. So again, initially, it was kind of like ho-hum. It wasn't very impressive because you didn't have your, the abilities you really need yet. Once I got the air dash ability, and once I got the bow and arrow and the chakram, my old Xena Warrior Princess style, once I got those power-ups, the platforming was much more fun. You get access to way more areas of the Citadel. That's when the game got a lot better. So the platforming is very fun. Some of the areas were pretty cryptic. Took me at least a little bit of time to figure out how to maneuver around them. You got to trigger something here and then quickly run over to a different part of the area and jump off some walls and get up here and then trigger something else. So that's the stuff I like in a Prince of Persia game. That puzzle platforming, pretty damn satisfying. A little bit challenging, and there are a couple of different ways you can play this game. When you first start playing, you're given the option of just like a totally free mode where you don't really get any like directives where to go for your next kind of like story, progressing event, whereas you can play a sort of guided mode, which isn't like totally guided, telling you where to go at all times, but whatever the next story event is, there will be a marker somewhere on the map, so at least you know where to go next, versus having really no direction at all. So I went with that little guided mode, just for the sake of brevity, for time saving, because this is, no doubt about it, a big game. The map is very large. Again, I played for 5 hours, And I think the game said I finished about 30% of it. So, you know, run that together, maybe like a 15, 16 hour to complete this game. I'd say that's pretty good, especially for the price I paid for it. I bought this off of Japanese Amazon. It was 5,400 yen, which comes out to about 36 bucks. So I feel like I got my money's worth. But yeah, the gameplay is kind of, the combat is pretty good. They did a decent job with it, and the boss battles are fun. But there were just lots of times where I wasn't interested in fighting enemies. I just wanted to do the platforming, and avoiding the enemies is, you can do it, but at the same time, you're not going to have as many crystals and things you need to pay for power-ups. Speaking of which, the power-ups come in the form of a necklace that Sargon wears, and you can put all kinds of different pendants on the necklace. Some of them take up different amounts of slots, and you can choose from things that give you more health, they increase your attack power, they reduce the damage you take from poisons, all kinds of stuff. You find them all throughout the Citadel, and then when you get to the game's whack trees, which are like the trees scattered all around the Citadel, when you access them, they refill your health and your arrows and things like that, but that's also the only place in the game where once you stop there, you can swap in and out the different pendants on Sargon's necklace. And then you can use the crystals you get to pay for more pendants, for other various upgrades, because you meet characters all throughout the map that will either sell you things or will upgrade items for you, all kinds of stuff. You meet gods and witches and all kinds of cool characters. And you can even pay to have different areas of the map kind of opened up for you, so you can at least see like the size and layout of different parts of the Citadel. So that's all good. So there's a lot of things you can do with the crystals, the currency that you find in the game. Again, just the only way to get most of it is to kill the enemies. But overall, I would say the gameplay up to now is pretty good. I've been having fun with it. The platforming is obviously the much better part of the game, but generally speaking, it is a fun game so far. In terms of graphics and sound, the visuals are pretty good. I'll say that they're pretty good. It's not like recently just for the first time I started playing like Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. It's like an amazing, like beautiful game. I've been playing RoboCop Rogue City, which has like some kind of like wonky character models sometimes, but the environments and everything else is just amazing. So playing those like really great looking games and then coming and playing this, like, you know, I know this game is also available on other platforms like the Switch and things. It does feel like, I don't want to say like a budget title or anything like that, but it's obviously a game where like the art style is very nice and the character designs are cool. It's not a graphically like impressive game. There's some cool like effects, like when you do super moves or when you parry certain moves, like little cutscenes kind of take over, and the cutscenes themselves look very nice too. It's just generally speaking, when you're playing the game, it's not graphically impressive, but I don't think it's really meant to be. It's meant to be more of a fun game, and again, I paid $36 US for it, which is like perfectly fine. I'm fine with that if it's like a lower cost game, and it's not exactly going to blow you away with its amazing graphics and sound. That's good. So again, it looks nice. I like the art direction. I like the character designs, all that stuff. It's just graphically, technically, it's not a very impressive game. And the sound design, I'm sitting here, I was playing the game for like 5 hours last night, and the sound design, I can't remember like a single song or tune or melody from the game. Just kind of like generic Persian mythical music, I guess. So the sound, the voice acting is like okay. I guess it's like an all British cast. So there's, you know, a variety of British accents coming from the ancient Persians, but that's fine. It's Ubisoft. I don't know where the hell they're based out of. I'm guessing Europe somewhere. But it's fine. The graphics are fine. The sound design is fine. And the gameplay is pretty good. So I know that's not like a glowing endorsement, but that's how I feel about the game right now. Again, 5 hours in. The gameplay is pretty good. The platforming is excellent. The combat is like, okay, I can take it or leave it. The graphics are okay. The sound design is okay. It's all perfectly serviceable. But really, as I progress more, after I finish the game, I'll have like a more fleshed out opinion on it. But that's my stance right now. The platforming is really fun. And that's the most important thing about any Prince of Persia game. So if you're thinking about picking this up, just know it is a big Metroidvania style game. The platforming is really good. The combat just gets a little bit tedious sometimes, but the boss battles are cool, and the graphics and sound are like okay. And if my current pace is any indication, I'll be done with it after about 15 to 16 hours, which is not a bad return on 36 bucks, I'd say. And then I haven't even used it yet, but I do have some kind of a redemption code, I guess maybe to get some extra content out of this game. I haven't used it yet. I want to finish the game first before I start putting in codes and things like that. But that's it. That's my current opinion on Prince of Persia and the Lost Crown, is that it's pretty good so far. It's not like blowing me away, but it's pretty good. So, down in the comments, did you pick this game up day one? Are you a Prince of Persia fan like I am and you just want to try out the next one, whatever it was going to be? And what are you thinking about it so far? Or if you haven't played it yet, do you intend to play it? Are you a Metroidvania fan and a Prince of Persia fan? Because that's what this is. It's Prince of Persia Metroidvania Edition, I guess you could say. So yeah, that's it. That's what I said. It was going to be initial thoughts. I'm not going to go any deeper than that until I actually finish the game. But that's it. So thanks for watching, everyone. I know I just sat here and rambled and just kind of like talked ad nauseum. But that's me. I just love to hear myself talk. So thanks for watching, everybody. Hit the like, subscribe, all that random crap. You know what we do on YouTube. We do all the stuff that you do when you like a video. Even if you didn't like this video, do it anyway. Please, I'm scared. We need to talk. All right, that's it. Now I'm going crazy. I got stuff to do today. I can't just sit here and make these videos all day long. I got to go make some other video or something like that. So thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.